Hey everybody, it's Strict9 with Strict9 GP, and welcome back to what's probably going to be my last episode in this Out of the Park Baseball 19 GM Challenge with the Reds series. I just wanted to recap the season and recap the series in general. In this episode, I went through and simmed ahead I guess we're at the point where all the major awards have been announced. We're not quite to arbitration or the off season, but I want to go through. There's a few awards to mention from the leagues and from our team, from the Reds, and then I just want to take a moment to kind of recap how this playthrough went for me. It's been way more successful than I thought, and I just thought I would give some pointers. Maybe if there's other players of the game looking for a challenge, if you pick up the Reds, maybe you can kind of duplicate what I did and have some success with it. Or maybe there's another team like the Reds you can pick up and have some success with. First off, I wanted to point out, I believe I am at the height of my reputation. I think that's the highest you can go, legendary. If somebody happens to know differently, you can comment in the comment section at the bottom of the video. But I believe that is legendary is as high as you can go. So that was something that I was hoping to achieve. And I think with winning the World Series this year, I think that put me over the top. And for the most part, a really good, I'm pleased with their performance. Did not expect it. 5 years, 4 playoff appearances, 1 championship. So I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But I did not expect we would be that competitive that early with this team. But I really wanted to look at some of the highlights of this 2022 season, starting with the Gold Glove Award winners. And I also wanted to go back further than that. There were a couple things. We're going to lose a couple of guys who were fairly important to the team last couple years. Andrelton Simmons, I knew this was going to happen. He failed to meet his vesting option, so he's going to be gone. He's at the tail end of his career for the most part. Still a good defensive shortstop, but he got injured, and I think that really hurt him performance-wise for us. Did get some play time in the playoffs, though. Still a valuable defensive sub, I think, in the league. And then Tyler Duffy, who looked awesome in the playoffs, and I would think would have a pretty decent chance at a starting role next year, or maybe in that bullpen. He decided to void his last contract year, so he's not going to be with the Reds next year. And then I wanted to look at how the owner thought our season went, and he was pretty overjoyed. I think he gave me an extension, I believe. Yeah, he gave me like a 3-year extension. Nothing too much in terms of salary, but he was pleased all the way, pretty much top to bottom. And now he's hoping that we build another championship team in 6 years. It might be nice. This team is pretty strong still. We have great budget left. Could be that a few tweaks in the offseason and we might even repeat. But he's happy and he's pretty generous right now. And then we haven't done arbitration yet, so that'll be saved till later. But for the awards in the American League Gold Glove, Brandon Belt he's with the Indians now, and he's still just a pretty solid defensive player. I think in my Phillies playthrough, he won like something like a dozen or more, or somewhere around there, Gold Gloves in his career, and played a long time, well into his 40s. He might even still be. I forget how far I am in that series, but he may have just recently retired. He played, I think, till he was 43, 44. He had a long career. Mookie Betts got the Gold Glove and right. And then Matt Chapman, who in real life is a great defensive third baseman. It's true in this playthrough. I think that was his second Gold Glove. Yep. And then in the National League, we didn't have any award winners here. I'm not seeing any really big names, too. Some of these guys like Diaz at short, Hero at left. He must have been a fairly recent draft pick. Of course, there's Arenado, Albies, Goldschmidt, but some of these guys I don't really recognize right now. And then for reliever of the year, this is where it gets pretty good for the Reds. In the American League, it went to Zach Britton at Houston. Didn't lead the league in saves, but was pretty solid. And that was his second time winning the award. And then in the National League, it went to Chad Green for the Reds. Now, he's not going to be, I'm not able to re-sign him. He clashes with Girardi, and I will lose him. But he's going to be a pretty big free agent closer on the market now. That was just his first time winning the reliever of the year, but he's been on I think he's had couple years anyway, where he's been top 5. And then also, Jimmy Herget finished second in voting. So he's going to be back next year on this team. I don't think he's going to be a closer, but man, he's turned into a really good, dependable bullpen guy. 76 appearances, 2.34 ERA, 92 strikeouts in 77 innings. A good close or a good bullpen option for sure. Platinum Stick Award winners, of course, it's going to be a lot of the same names you would recognize. Gary Sanchez, who we played against in that World Series, I mentioned this several times. He has become one of the best overall players in this playthrough. 2-time Gold Glove, several-time Platinum Stick, an All-Star. He's in real life, he struggled offensively for the Yankees this year, but kind of did in this playthrough. His average was down to 239, but he has been consistently good, average, power, production, having a good career. Some other guys, Vladimir Guerrero, 23 years old. He is a beast. Altuve had a great year for the Astros. Career highs, I think. Looks like in RBIs. Showed some power. Led the league in hits, but hit over 200 again. I was starting to wonder if he had kind of lost something in the last 2 years in this playthrough. But he's back up, I think, to what he's capable of. 2,200 hits right now in this playthrough. I feel like he's got a good chance at 3,000 before it's done. And then Judge in there, Trout, another good year from him. In the National League, let's see. Once again, no Reds made the list. Let's see. Cousins, I think, is a big surprise. We saw him in the playoffs as well. He went over to San Diego and has developed into a really good, productive power player in that outfield. Bryce Harper with the Phillies had a great year. So did Rhys Hoskins, but he's not chosen. It went to Bellinger again at first. And then for rookies, Bobby Witt Jr. for the White Sox had a great year, 38 home runs, 100 RBIs. Let me see if he was... So he was drafted in this playthrough in 2019. So he was generated, I guess, by the game itself. And then here it is again in the National League, some more award winners. It went to Eric Ramirez. No surprise. He was strong last year in September call-up. Luckily, he didn't get past that threshold so that he would still be a rookie. His year this year was phenomenal. His individual ratings, especially against right-handed pitchers, 15 contacts, 17 power. I still think at 26 years old, this guy, even though his overall is not that high either from my scout or OSA, and OSA likes him even better individually for his ratings, I'm hoping this guy has a good career. That was a great start for sure. He's been a powerhouse in the playoffs both years. Won the MVP, I think, for, let me see, I don't know if it was the Championship Series or the World Series. Let's see. So he's 2-time playoff series MVP. Yeah. He was the World Series MVP in 2022. So there you go. But one of the things I love about this guy, and this is something that's, you don't really see it a whole lot. Most times the players who develop in this game, as in real life, although I think in some ways it feels like you'll see this more in real life than you will in this game. It's mainly those top 3, 4, 5 picks who develop into everyday players, and usually it's only the first, first, second, third round players who develop into superstars in this league. So to have a guy, the way it's set up in this league, we have 35 rounds in the draft. This guy's picked 32nd. He was the 949th overall player in that my first draft. So this is a guy I drafted in 2018. I love seeing that, where a guy is drafted low, individual ratings either take a quick boost and he just gets the play time he needs and he develops. He was solid at every level he played, starting from rookie ball all the way through AAA, and he developed nicely. He skipped AA, but I love the way he developed too. I mean, he got good play time at each level that he was in and produced, and I hope that he keeps it up and has a good long career. And also another guy, Trevor Cadd, that I drafted, he did get some notice. I think he should have been a little bit higher. He got injured and that hurt him, but 333 batting average. He was leading the league in batting it a few times throughout. 24 stolen bases. A good first year from him. I think he should have gotten a little bit higher up there on the list. So managers of the year went to Hinch at Houston, and then Girardi at Cincinnati. And looking at his history, he had manager of the year for Florida in 2006. But even all those years, all those good years that he had with the Yankees, he never got manager of the year, apparently, if this playthrough has it right. So this was his first time since that first inaugural season he had managing with the Marlins. So good news for him. And then pitchers of the year, or Cy Young, went to Syndergaard in the American League. He's now with Toronto, signed a big contract with them through 2028, although there's an option coming up. And honestly, for the production you get out of this guy, that's a nice bargain. $23,800,000 is where it tops out. That's pretty good for a pitcher of that caliber. He's won the Cy Young 3 times, first time with the American League. He led the league in strikeouts, innings, not in wins, but 19. That's pretty solid, and wins above replacement. And then in the National League, it went to Thomas Hatch with Chicago again. It's been pretty weak overall, I've said several times, for pitching. But this guy's put 2 back-to-back Cy Youngs together. He's just 28. I don't know how long he'll keep it up. I think he's just been the benefit of maybe some good luck. He's led the league in ERA and wins, though, 2 years in a row. Wins above replacement this year for pitchers. So I don't doubt that he deserves the Cy Young, but I don't know if he's, with those individual ratings and overall, I don't know if he's going to be able to keep it up. I would think he might not be able to three-peat. But we also had several other guys getting votes in this category. Castillo, who 13 wins, 258 ERA, good solid year from him. Chad Green got some votes, and also Tyler Mahle got some votes, 14 wins, injured down the stretch, but still good year overall for us. And Sixto Sanchez, just like in the other playthrough I had going with the Phillies, he's starting to develop into a good pitcher here, it looks like. And now MVP, American League went to Guerrero Jr., his second in a row. Good overall year from him. Not as good this year as last year, but still led the league in batting. Production was really great all across the board. Freddie Freeman now with Toronto. Toronto should have a powerhouse, honestly. Why they were unable to go further this year, I don't know, but they've got some great players on that team right now. Syndergaard, Guerrero Jr., Freddie Freeman. Trout slipped down the rankings a little bit, but it's still a good year from him also. And then in the National League, once again, went to Cody Bellinger. He is offensively, I think he might be having the best playthrough so far of anybody in the league. This is his 4th MVP award, 3rd in a row. He won it the first year I started simming in 18. He's led the league in home runs 2 times, 50-plus home runs 4 out of the last 5 years. A lot of wins above replacement. He strikes out a lot, but he's got good speed. This guy is really rated highly in this in this playthrough. And the Dodgers signed him long term. For considering the caliber of player he is, that's a bargain in this league. $21 million is where it tops out, and through 2027. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more years. He's already up to 290 home runs. Unless a big injury happens, I think he's definitely going to get 500. He might even push 600 or 700 the way he's going. But Eric Ramirez got some votes. Good to see there. Castillo got some votes in this category, and that was it. But Hoskins, Harper, they were behind Bellinger in the voting. Hoskins cooled off a little bit there towards the end, but 63 home runs, 160 RBIs. I think he's benefiting from having Harper in the lineup, but he's having a great playthrough as well. I don't know if he'll be able to keep it up. They got him signed through 3 more seasons with an opt-out. Pretty decent bargain for him too. But those were the awards that I wanted to cover. That just kind of give a recap. I thought it was cool. We won 3 total awards there, and I'm really most proud of that Rookie of the Year award, even though that was the 3rd time in the 5 years that I've been in this playthrough that we won the Rookie of the Year. So 2 of those guys were already in the red system when I started the playthrough. It went to no, actually, I don't know if that's right. I think let me look at the roster, because I think Cam Gibson won it once. Let me double check. He was a guy I traded. Yeah, he was Rookie of the Year. So Cam Gibson I traded for. I traded Scott Schebler to the Nationals for him, and he took off when he came over to the Reds team. So he was Rookie of the Year. Taylor Trammell didn't get it. I've talked about that. I think he didn't get it because of a glitch. I think for some reason the system thought he had more play time than he did. Coming into that 2021 season, he should have been in the running. Probably should have gotten it that year, honestly. But so we've had Ramirez, Cam Gibson. Senzel didn't get the Rookie of the Year, but which was the 18th season, but he got injured, and that's why. But Shedrick Long, I believe, was the last guy who did get a Rookie of the Year on this team, and he was somebody that was already in the system, but I don't know in real life if he's as high up now that the Reds have Scooter Gennett. I don't know if he's as high up in their prospect list as he turned out to be, but Girardi played this guy right out of the bat. As soon as I called him up to he skipped AAA. As soon as I called Shedrick Long up to spring training in 2019, Girardi just started him, and he's really been consistent. Had a decent playoffs at times this year. He's having a good career as well, so he's turned into a all-star type player. And I think those were the only really Rookies of the Year kind of caliber players we had on the team. But I wanted to take a look, though, looking at just this team in general. So when I started this, my goal was to pick a team in 2018 that was going to be challenging. And at the time, the Reds, their small market team, they had 2 big contracts that were a problem: Homer Bailey and Joey Votto. Sorry. And there was not much room there to maneuver on those contracts. And their record at the time, was terrible. I think they started out 3-15 or something like that in the real life for the 2018 season. I thought they would be a challenge. I thought it would take a few years to develop them into a competitive team. And I think the biggest things that I did starting out that helped me get off on the right track and put together a team that could make the playoffs quicker than I thought was I got rid of that Homer Bailey contract. I didn't get rid of the contract, but I just moved on from him, basically. And then the second thing was probably most important. I also bit the bullet and ate the manager's contract and got Girardi in here, somebody who had some experience and a good track record. I think that played a big part of it. Overall, though, if you're looking at the Reds coming into this season, 2018, and in this version of out of the park baseball, I think they have a good farm system. Just talked about those rookies of the year and some of the guys they developed. So you start out with a pretty good mix of pitching and offense, either in the farm system or on the team already coming into that 2018 season. So you do a few things right. I think managers are really important. I think you do have to overlook Bailey and move on from him. I think you'll do okay. And it was a benefit. I don't think it really played into how we won, but another big benefit, unfortunate, I guess, if you're a Votto fan, but in this playthrough, he retired early. So we saved, I guess, the last 2 seasons of his contract, which is around $50 million. So we had quite a few dollars to play with. It was that money that allowed me to go out this year and pick up, even though he wasn't that great in the playoffs, it allowed me to get Keuchel, who picked up 13 wins for us, and at times looked good enough in the playoffs too. He won some key games in that. I think he clinched the division series against San Diego, or we wouldn't have gone as far as we got. But I'm looking at this team in general, and one of the things I really am proud of is the fact that a lot of it are guys that I brought to the team. You start with Albert Amora, who didn't have that much of a contribution this year, but he was a guy I traded for. Trevor Catt, a guy I drafted. Escobar, a guy I traded for. Estrada, a guy I traded for. I believe Feliciano was somebody I picked up in the Rule 5 draft. So he was a pickup. Friedel, I think, was in the system. Gibson, I traded for. Long was in the system. Mangum, I drafted. Ramirez drafted. Rutschman traded for. Senzel was in the system. Simmons drafted or traded for. Well, not traded for. I think I signed him as a free agent. Trammell, he was already in the system. And then in the pitching side, some guys I traded for here. Duffy, Bradley were free agents. Alcantara, I think, was a trade. Green was a free agent, I believe, if not a trade. But Castillo, who's already in the system for the Reds, he's been pretty consistent. I mean, especially this year was a good year for him. You can see 15 wins 2 years ago, 13 wins this year. Hunter Green, still jury out on him, but he's contributed here and there. Peralta has been pretty solid the last couple of years. Tyler Mahle, if I didn't mention already, he's, as far as this playthrough, I think Out of the Park Baseball 19 probably thinks he's the best pitching prospect coming into that 2018 season that the Reds have. And it was up and down with him for a while there, but this year was easily his best year, I think, overall. So I guess what to take from that is the Reds are a challenge, but I don't think you're going to have to do a whole lot of tweaking to get this team into the playoffs. As far as the World Series, you're probably going to have to pick up a few free agents here and there that will make a difference, but I think there's a good, solid nucleus. I hope, I kind of like the Reds. They're not my favorite team, but I live relatively close to them. I get to go see a few games there every once in a while in Cincinnati. So I like this team. I hope this really plays out. In terms of the Central, I like them better than any other team in that National League Central. So I'd like to see them develop a winner. And, it's possible that they can do it based on the farm system that they have right now. And if they get, the right management in place, I think they've got a good shot. But that's kind of where I'm going to leave it. I mean, it might be a challenge to see if I can repeat, but for me, the challenge really was to see if I could take this team, which I thought at the time was one of the most challenging teams in the league, if I could take them to the World Series and win it, that's as far as I'd want to go. And so right now, in terms of the channel that I have, I will probably go back to the Phillies and get that one going and hopefully achieve the same thing, get to the playoffs and the World Series or at least I've been to the playoffs a few times in that one, but it's really a challenge on that one right now. And if you guys are listening and want to comment, I've toyed around with the idea. They just released the perfect season version of Out of the Park Baseball 19. Well, it's not a version. It's kind of like an extra play mode you get within the game. And I might play around with that. It looks kind of interesting. I don't know if you guys have any interest in seeing any playthroughs of that or see how it works. I might throw something like that up. But I think going forward, I might hold off a little bit on the amount and the schedule in terms of how many episodes I release. I got some things going on personally, some good things going on personally, but it's taken my time, and also some other gameplay that's come along. Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to be eating up a lot of my time on Xbox One, and that's not something I plan on doing a playthrough or series of that. And I've also recently, there was a sale, which I'm a sucker for these sales, but there was a pretty decent sale on the XCOM 2 complete version. And so I picked that up on PC, and I've been playing that one, and that's kind of taken some of my playtime, which is limited. But I hope you've enjoyed the series. I really do like playing this way. I like it challenges you a little bit when you're putting these videos out there to really deliberate and think on the moves you're making, and you know that people are watching and can second guess you. But I hope you guys enjoy it and take some value of it. There's not a lot of guys out there doing Out of the Park Baseball 19 right now, and I just think it's I enjoy watching them when I see them, and I think it's kind of fun to see how other guys play this game and what kind of success they can have with some of the different teams. I'm always going to be a conservative player because I'm always going to challenge myself. I don't believe in, taking a big market team and just using that money to put together kind of like what the Phillies have done in this playthrough, with signing some of the players that they've signed, or Toronto, another one. I don't like just filling your team up with the best players in the league, and then to me, I just don't think that's where the challenge is. I think it comes in drafting and being slow sometimes with developing some of your players and just seeing how far they go. I can't say enough about how, for me, doing something like with that Ramirez, being able to draft a guy low and develop him into an all-star type player, that's really fun. That's almost, to me, as much fun, if not more fun, than winning a World Series every year. But anyway, I'm kind of rambling, but I hope you guys have enjoyed this series. I'd like to hear some comments if you have, or some suggestions in making the series better going forward. But I'll keep this up and probably keep doing this off and on until we get to next year's version, and maybe I'll pick another team to kind of like the Reds to see what other kind of challenges. I guess Baltimore might be the biggest challenge right now. But thanks for watching, and I will see you next episode.